voila.
Give these a whirl. Look like they're gonna work fantastic.
We just took a real soft bristle brush. We didn't use the screws that came with it because all right guys, I screwed up. Welcome to another video. This is a Salty Trips channel, and today we are going to be installing 2,500 watts on top of this fifth wheel. We're going to go over the ins and outs and show you exactly how it's done from start to finish. So stick around, check it out. All right guys, so what we're going to do is we're going to try to squeeze in 10 250 watt rich solar panels up on this roof. But we got to get started and we got to figure out how we're going to put the wires through the roof into the basement, and we'll start off with that. This is what I come up with. There's two lines that go up right here, right behind here, that are the exhaust vents for the black and the gray tank. But I also went down and recorded from below, and it appears that it goes all the way through. So we're gonna have to investigate. What I want to do is I want to take this off, cut a hole in the wall right back here so that I can look inside up and down and know if it goes all the way through or not, and where it comes up over here. This will just screw back on, so you're not going to see the hole anyway. All right, so there's enough room in here. I can just stick my phone in here, so I'm going to do that first. All right, that looks like it goes all the way down. All right, let's turn it over. Look up. Yep. Looks like it goes all the way up. So according to the video, it looks like it goes all the way down. We're going to send the endoscope down just in case, just to check. All right, and this thing's pretty handy. It's just got a little camera on the end, and you can unvelcro it off. And it just connects to an app on my phone, and I can see what's on the end. It has a little light, and you can adjust, turn it up and down. But we're just going to straighten this out best we can because we want to get all the way down to the bottom there. All right, now that we've confirmed that this is unobstructed all the way down, there's no cross members except for one up at the top here, which we'll have to drill through. But you can see right up here, there's that board that we're gonna have to drill through right there, and then come through the ceiling right there. So just have to go through the top there, and then miss those wires, and it should go straight down through into the bottom. All right guys, so now that we know where the hole needs to go, which is going to be about 3.5 inches from this pipe, about right here. The reason I went with one of these boxes instead of one of the ones that just have two lines to come through, well, if I have this box here, in case I want to put like an antenna or something else, I'll have an access hole, or if I want to add more solar or something, I'll have a junction box here. I can just run more line through, and it'll be easier to add. I don't think we really plan to, but you never know. I'd rather just go this route and put this box right here than not have to worry about it. First, we're going to have to pull this lid off. This max airflow just has a couple of pins in it that you pull out. It should come right up. And I'm just going to clean up this area and put some Ultra Bond down before we put the box down. A little acetone to clean up the area. All right, we got the wires all tied up.
And just gonna pull it up.
Voila. So we're just gonna run these wires through our box and then one out each hole. And tighten it down. Then we're just going to put our MC4 connectors on here. All right, now we got this exactly where we want to go. We're going to drill some holes first. So we're going to take a die-core lap sealant, lather it up. And we got our MC4 connectors here. The fat one goes into the positive and the skinny one goes into the negative, which is this one. And they're marked. You'll see it's got a little negative one here and this one's got a little positive one here, so you know which one goes on which. These just go together like this when you connect them together. They've got these pliers for it, but I can get them down hand tight. And I'll just leave these together for now until we're ready to use them. So far, looking good. Now that we've got this all prepped, we're going to get everything prepped and ready for down in the, to be able to hook everything up to the Victron system. All right, so we decided to go with 10 250 watt rich solar panels and with a series of 5, and we'll do that twice in so it's in parallel. And the way you can kind of figure these things out, there's a good tool you can use on Explorers.life. They have for measuring out your wattage and what you need for a charge controller. You just type in a couple of things, like there's a couple different numbers for like your max voltage and max amperage and stuff like that. You just punch those in, it'll automatically drop down there to you, and you just tell it how many you're going to have in series, how many in parallel, and it'll just pop up and give you a charge controller that will handle that situation and explain to you why. But because there's also a cold factor, like as the temperature drops, the voltage may jump up, and there's some calculations that need to be done, and they automatically do it in this little app on the website. So that was kind of handy. With this series in parallel with these panels, we're looking at a max of 144 volts, and it should be a max of 87 amps out. When you look at a charge controller, the first number is the max voltage it can handle, and that second number is the max amperage of output it can put. So depending on whether you have 24 volt, 12 volt system, with a 12 volt system, the max that charge controller can do is like 1450 watts. But because we have a 24 volt battery system, it can double that, because it cuts that amperage in half. Like if you were to have 2500 watts and you're trying to, that would be about 170 something amps going to the battery. But because it's 24 volt, it's only 87 amps would be going to the battery. Just remember Ohm's law, volts times amps equals watts. So you just want to make sure you have the appropriate charge controller for your system, and the MPPT 150 100 by Victron should do us plenty good. To make room for this charge controller, I'm gonna have to move my Servo GX. I'm just gonna mount it to the roof up here, and then we're just gonna slap that right there. And I have a breaker box that's gonna go right here. All right, so now we just gotta get all our MC4 connectors hooked up. Goes into the breaker, comes out of the breaker, and it'll go into our charge controller. Got this new pair of wire strippers that just came in from Amazon today, so I'm gonna give these a whirl. Look like they're gonna work fantastic. I'm gonna make sure you hear that pop when you put that in there. There's a little click. For the cables that we're using for our charge controller to the distributor is a 2 gauge. I know it's a little overkill. That's the biggest that we'll take. We, rather go a little larger on cable than, just trying to meet bare minimum. Figure out where we need that at. Amp fuse. I just want to mention real quick too, I did put in a 100 amp little breaker right here. It's more so for just like a on-off switch because it is fused down here, so it's not actually necessary. And also to connect this controller to your Servo GX, you have to have a VE direct cable, which is purchased separately. I'll leave it linked in the description area below, but you just plug it in down here and it plugs up right up there, and it's labeled. We're connecting through our Victron Connect app, and we're connecting so we can set up our parameters for the charge controller, which everybody's going to be just a little bit different depending on, if you're running 12 volt, 24 volt, and whatever lithium battery the manufacturers are suggesting for your settings, that's what you should follow. You go into your settings, your battery, and then you're going to go to select preset and go down here to lithium smart, hit OK. And that'll disable your equalization because you don't need to equalize it. And the float value, we need to change this to 27.6, hit OK. Absorption voltage, 28.8. Low temp cutoff, 41 degrees, that's fine. Battery voltage, 24, 100 amp current. Looks like we're good to go. Now we got to figure out how we're going to fit these things up here. So what I did first was I got up top and I took some rough measurements, and then I decided I was just going to send the drone up, put the drone up there, and took some screenshots, and then I went on some photoshopping, and I just kind of rearranged the pattern a few times to see what I'm gonna like, because we want to make it so that we can still walk the whole roof of the RV and still be able to access the slide outs so that we can keep them clean when we move from place to place. That's kind of what we come up with, but we'll see when we get them. All right, so we got to get this roof clean. So Kim got up there and she blow packed it off for me. And then what we did was we just took a real soft bristle brush and some Dawn dish soap and some water, and just gave it a good scrub down to degrease everything, to get it nice and clean, and prepped it for installing the solar panels. And she was a real big help, so let's give her kudos in the comments. All right, well, I got all the panels strapped down. Now it's time to get them back. All right, guys, so we got to test these. I want to test these to make sure that they're all working properly, and I'm going to show you how I do that real quick. You're just going to need a voltmeter that can read amps and volts and DC. So you'll just need one of those. And I have the Klein Tool CL800. I really like it. I'll link it in the description below. But I'm going to show you how we do that real quick. All right, so we're just going to turn this to, we're going to go to volts first. And it goes volts in AC and DC. It automatically starts out in AC, so you just hit select and it goes to DC current. And then we just take our two ends, and we are going to, that's positive, then our negative, and we're reading about 20.2 volts. That's reading pretty good. And then we're going to switch over to amps, and then of course switch it over to DC. We're going to hit 0 to 0 it out, and then stick that back in there, and it's reading 13.8, which is about what it should be. So I just got to do that 9 more times. All right, so I just got through testing my last one, and they're all reading about 20 to 21 volts and 12.5 to 13.5 amps. So that's about 250, 260 watts a piece. So they're all reading right, so we're good to go. I know it takes a little bit of work, but you know, it's better to do that now than to get it mounted and everything and find out one of these isn't working. All right, guys, so we're going to start mounting these brackets. I went with the Z brackets because I was thinking about doing the unistrut across the roof, and so it would make it easier to take on and off in case I ever had to replace the panel. These are kind of a pain in the butt to replace, because once these are on, you only have this much space to get under here to get these nuts and screws at. So I was going to do that, but then I went to Home Depot and I realized how much those things weighed. I didn't want to add that extra weight, so I just went with the simple Z brackets. If I have to replace a panel in the future or whatever, I'll deal with it, cross that bridge when we get to it. I got these on Amazon, so but they're pretty simple to put on. There's not much room to get fingers. If you got smaller fingers, it makes it a lot easier. Just slap that on, just depending on the side or long ways, just depending on how you mount it. You'll see later why I mounted them this way. But you just put them on, tighten it down, make sure this is snug, and then just take a couple of wrenches and snug it down. That lock washer's locked. It's that simple. All right, guys, well, I got like 3 up here. It's taken me like about 15 minutes to put on the brackets and tote it up myself. All right, so we got all the panels on. I wound up having to lay that one that way because it was good if I laid it this way. It's too much of an angle there so that the panel would make contact with the roof, and I don't want that. So we're just going to put it there. We're not going to get any shading. And then got all the other ones done. This is going to be a string 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then another string series 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going to be a string of 5 on this side, string of 5 on that side, and then parallel together down here with the splitters. So you could fit a couple more panels up here, like 2 or 3 more, but we really wanted to leave room, especially to be able to walk over here and be able to blow off the tops without having to bring out the ladder every time. So we want to have room for the same thing over here. We got a little walking space to get to that slide out to blow it off. And we still have 2,500 watts. Now we just got to start screwing them down. All right, guys. Well, I've already got a couple of these screwed down, and I'm going to show you how we're mounting these things. And of course, I think I probably mentioned it earlier. If not, I will. But we didn't use the screws that came with it because the thread was way too fine. It was more like for sheet metal screws. So we wanted wood screws with a good bite so that these things don't come off, because they are a little heavier than, or they're not heavier, but they're a little bigger than the 200 watt panels. So more wind, the bigger. You just want that good bite so they don't come loose. And it's pretty simple. We're just cleaning it with some acetone. We're putting these little strips of Ultra Bond on, which, you know, can work on wet surfaces, even though you're supposed to be dry with the die core and everything. But I'm just letting you know that Ultra Bond, if it's damp, you can still, these things will still stick to your roof. Ultra Bond is fantastic, and it's a little easier to work with than Eternabond. And then after that, you know, we just put a good amount of die core on there underneath, screw it down, and then put a little more die core on the top. All right, guys, now I got everything mounted, screwed down, glued down. Just got to make a couple of extension cables. It's the same process as I showed you earlier. Just measure them out, and then, and man, I love these wire strippers. They're fantastic. I'll leave links linked in the description area below. They make it so much easier than my rusty old ones. And just making a couple extensions. We don't have to actually do too many extensions because a lot of the panels are close enough together that they can reach. I'll show you when we get down here. All right, guys, I screwed up. It's 2 days later, and I thought I had these things, these little Y connectors to make them in the two series into parallel, and I forgot them. Apparently I didn't order them. I was looking everywhere for them, so I had to order them off Amazon. They came 2 days later, so here we are 2 days later. I'm gonna finish this up. All we gotta do is connect, you know, positive, negative, and a series of 5 over here, positive, negative, series of 5 over here, and then combine them where it goes through the roof in here with these Y connectors. We'll show you that real quick, and then we're just gonna tape down the excess where we don't want them flopping around in the wind. And we're just going to use some Ultra Bond tape like we were using before. Also, guys, I got a couple of fuses, inline fuses, that we're going to put on the positive side where it wires together. So in case there's a failure on one side, it doesn't affect the other. And these are 20 amp fuses. That's what it calls for these 250 watt panels. And we'll put these on and get this thing done. All right, guys, now that we got it all taped up, it's looking good. I just don't want anything flopping around. May have been a little excessive with it, but all we have to do next is flip the switch. All right, guys, this is going to wrap things up. If you got something out of this video, please give this video a big thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, notification bell, all that fancy jazz, because we have a lot more to come. We're going to do test and show you exactly how well this thing works. Right now, we're completely shaded up here, and we're still pulling down 300 watts. That's pretty good. I can't wait to get out and do some boondocking and some off-grid action. So if you're interested in any of that kind of mess, the solar, the power, we have a playlist down below. Check it out. We're going to leave all the tools and equipment we used, links in the description area below. Thanks for coming along. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate the comments, and we'll see you guys next week.